want to play GrimGate, but you keep dying since every game 10 people drop with you? Or even worse, you don't even feel confident enough to drop GrimGate to begin with? Don't worry, I got you covered. In this hotspot analysis, I will teach you everything there is to know in order to win more in GrimGate, which is the new best POI in Season 2. I will do this by first splitting the city into different areas, second going through these areas in detail, third showing all car and loot spawns, including the positions of the new Godchests and drop boards, fourth showing the best drop spots and drop rotations, and finally fifth by explaining strategy, meaning important angles, rotations, and how to play GrimGate. My name is TSK, and after analyzing everything in depth in Season 1, I'm excited to get started with Season 2, and my goal is to become the best together with you guys. First up, let's split the city into different areas before we analyze each in the next point. Similar to fencing fields, we are also gonna take a look at the area just outside of GrimGate, especially since this area has so much loot that there's plenty places to drop and loot. And we are gonna call all this area down here the southern outskirts, and similarly all these areas to the west we are gonna call the western outskirts. Then going deeper into GrimGate, the northern part will be called GrimGate North and the southern part GrimGate South. Pretty simple, but this way everybody knows what we're talking about. Alright, let's take a proper look at these areas. We're gonna start with the God chest. It is right underneath this tree here. And this actually comes with a really nice rotation. We're talking about that in a moment. Let's take a look at normal chests. You can find a couple to the east, but the best loot you'll find is on this building down here. You can also find 2 chests underneath the bridge and 1 more in the west. Sadly, they haven't added floor loot yet to this map. However, you will find floor loot literally everywhere here. But let me take you through this. We're starting all the way out here where you can see the first chest spawn, which is right at the river here. If you head over to this tree, you will find the first God chest and the only one in the southern outskirts. In general, there is 9 God chests in GrimGate. I will of course show them all. And then if you leave this God chest and follow the path that goes underneath this little bridge here, you will get to this little building. Notice there can be a chest spawned into this boat here. Before we get into the building, down here you will find barrels, floor loot, and up here usually a chest. And if you head over, you can find chests in these 2. I really don't know how to call these, but you can find a chest in here, as well as barrels outside, floor loot outside, and a chest in the center here as well. The other side can also spawn with loot right here. And then if we head back, you will find an insanely good high ground up here on this mountain that you can use very well to actually push GrimGate. Crazy potential angles here. Also, in this little pit down here, you will usually also find a chest. So if you want to push this side of GrimGate, this can be useful to know. As right on this side, you will find God chest number 2. But we'll talk about that when we talk about GrimGate South. There's a car spawn up here, and this one spawns pretty much every single time. And you can also find bike spawns at the God chest on the other side at this tree here, by the way. And yeah, the highest value you will get on this side of the map is this God chest here at the tree, and the rotation I showed you guys towards this little other building. Actually, one of my favorite drops, and if nobody drops here, you will have a legit start. And additionally, there's another car spawn right here on this patch as well. We'll talk about it again at drops. Next up, we'll take a look at the western outskirts. And again, first, we're gonna take a look at chests. And as you can see, we have way, and I really mean way more loot here. Normal chests laying around everywhere, as well as 3 God chests. And on top, we have a job board with a treasure quest, which spawns approximately 50% of the time. And getting it is insanely valuable, as it will give you 2 bonus mythical chests. So of course, I worked that into my drop rotation. But of course, talking about that later at drops. We also have a bunker here. Let me show you everything. We are starting just north of GrimGate. And as you can see here on these statues, you can actually find chests. There's another one of those over here. Before that, another one can spawn right here. And again, I don't know what to call these. Please let me know in the comments if you know like what this is called. I have no idea. But guys, if we go further here to the bridge, which is the exact edge of the outskirts that we called here earlier, you will find a hidden God chest right here. And little spoiler, this is my go-to drop, because the rotation I have is absolutely insane. I'll talk about it in a moment. But let's continue here with the outskirts. We got another chest right here at this tree. Spawns approximately 90% of the time. And then the edge that we called is the little waterfall here. And on this water, you will always find loot spawns along the way, as well as a potential mythic chest right here, which honestly spawns pretty often as well. If not, you will get a normal chest, plenty of more loot, and you can use this water to rotate really fast by constantly blinking in and out. Up here, you have this little Minotaur skull with some barrels and usually 3 chest spawns, which is insane. And if you go all the way over here, you find this port. Also Also, always look out for these bows, whether they're broken or not. They also often have loot spawns. But when you arrive here, you will find barrels in this first building, as well as usually loot spawners as well. Lots of chests in these bows all around. Like, look at this. Right here, we have 6 chests. In here is where 50% of the time you will find the job board that gives you the treasure chest. You got more chests on the other side here on this little building. The treasure quest usually spawns around here on this area, as well as on the exact other side. And if we go up further to the coast and go up this mountain, you will find the third god chest right up here together with 2 barrels, which is also pretty nice to have. And then, guys, depending on how far you want to go on the outskirts, you will find plenty of loot actually at the coast here. Lots of chests, lots of ground floor. Ground floor? Floor loot, ground loot, as well as barrels as well, all the way over the outskirts. Oh, I was wrong. It was the second god chest. I'm about to show you the third. Excuse me. If you head over to the coast here, right at this cast, you will find a normal chest, and down below, guys, you will find the third god chest. So yeah, as you can see, quite a lot of loot here. And again, 3 god chests. Last little area here is the bridge. Underneath the bridge, again, you can find up to 2 chests, and on top of it, we have the bunker. If you get the treasure chest, if you get the treasure... If you get the treasure quest, this is where you'll find it usually. And again, on your way to GrimGate, just loot the river. You will find plenty of loot everywhere at the river. And lastly, underneath the bridge, we have car spawns. Looking at the gate, everything to our right will be GrimGate North. And again, first up, let's take a look at loot. GrimGate North is super stacked and also comes with a lot, and I mean a lot of barrels, as well as chests obviously, and 3 god chests, all relatively close to each other. Let me show you exactly how to get to them and explain this half of GrimGate better. Okay, let's start our way from down here and work up the river. First up, as you can see, there's a little reboot van over here. And once we get to GrimGate North, you will see plenty of chests already from over here. There can be one in the boat right here. And let's take a look at the ruins over here. This is pretty much only useful for fighting, while this next building is super good for looting. On top, you will find a lot of ammo and sometimes a chest over here as well. But if we go down below, you will find plenty of chests, barrels, and if you go all the way over here, you find a god chest. 2 more barrels in the corner, 2 more barrels in this corner, and as I just showed, 1 barrel over here, and more chests back here as well. This area is super stacked, and if you drop anywhere close, this is the building to loot. Let's get back to the river. As you can see, chests on the way there as well. And now the complicated buildings are gonna start here very soon. Let's start with the low ground over here. Make sure you check all of these little areas. Don't want to go too deep yet. Let's go back to the right. Over here, you can go through the wall inside this room that has chests in these cages. Let's call them cages. If you go through the door, you're back outside. You can either take the stairs or go up here to get on the high ground. Let's take the stairs first though. And as you see, more barrels over here. Loot spawns pretty much everywhere in general here. And if you go inside, you will find plenty of loot in here, in this king-sized bedroom. And if you go this way, you see there can be loot spawns on top here. And of course, this is a nice way to get back on the high ground over here. However, back to floor level first. This time we go a little bit further, and you see there is the other god chest right here. Let me show you this again. If you're at the river, you take a right, go through this here, and you're right at the god chest. It's really important to know where they're exactly at, because obviously starting with the god chest is a huge advantage. Keep in mind, we split this building into 2 parts, the southern part and the northern part, because this building is actually pretty complex. But over here, you will find plenty of rooms that can have chests, as well as underneath the staircase, guys. Always look underneath the staircase. If you go through on the floor, you get on the other side of the outskirts. Look underneath this little thing here as well. Can have a chest. And if you go back inside, let's go up the stairs. First up, you can jump up here. You don't actually need to take the stairs. Really useful. And if you continue to go up, you will be on the next floor. There can be loot behind this here. Check it out. And then if we go the other way, we get ways out to the high ground, as well as a little barrel here in the back. And if we go back and take the stairs one more time, you will of course be even higher. There's some loot spawns over here as well as easy ways out on both sides. However, that's not all. Again, you can jump up here or you can take the stairs. I can really recommend jumping up, by the way, because of the stair campers usually. You will find a little room that has a chest. You can walk outside right here, and you're not all the way up top yet. The top, of course, is kind of in the center exactly, but we're just gonna talk about it here in a moment because it's actually really important. This is a nice high ground to shoot pretty much anywhere on the map already. But again, we're not done here. Go back inside. You can jump up here one more time, or we can take the stairs, and you will see barrels right away if you go this way. Another easy way to jump down if you have any movement, which you will have, by by taking some water out of the river. However, let's continue. Over here, you find the other stairs. If you continue going instead, you find the stairs that lead back to this high ground that I showed you guys at the start. But not done here yet. Let's go the other way. As you can see, the bridge can also have loot and chests. There was one more spawn that I wanted to show you guys. That is all the way up top. Easiest way to get up is simply jump up on the roof with a dash that you get from the water. And what you find here, guys, is another god chest. You may as well just drop exactly on this. However, this is pretty risky as many people drop here. However, keep it in mind for later when we talk about drops. And this is, of course, the perfect time to switch over to GrimGate South. And again, we're gonna start with loot. And just as GrimGate North, this area is super stacked. As you can see, plenty of chests everywhere. 2 more god chests. And if you want to look at it like this, we also got the god chest in the center. So I don't really mind counting it on either of the both sides. Right next to the Cerberus boss fight, we have a job board that can spawn with a supply drop quest. However, the supply drop quest is not nearly as good as the treasure hunt. However, if you feel like you're forced to leave because there's too many people, this is still nice to know. Okay, we're gonna continue right where we left off. Just at this time, we're gonna take a right here. And as I said earlier, this is where you find the first god chest. Super good drop spot as well here. And if you go up, you will find plenty of spots for loot. There can be a chest right here. There can be chests again. And these, I don't know, I'm just gonna call them cages, guys. I don't know what else to call them. They can actually spawn with chests in there as well. You got slab barrels over there. But first up, again, let's go down to the ground floor. On the ground floor here, you can find this little statue that will often, pretty much every time, have a chest up there. More ground loot always, as well as a way up into the gate. But if we keep going forwards, you will find another room that is right next to the boss area. However, in front, you will find yet more chests. And, as I promised, the potential spawn for the supply quest. But again, guys, this one is not nearly as good as the treasure quest. Let's continue the floor level real quick. Of course, we have the boss fight here. And if we go all the way over here, you will find more loot on this little ruined building, I want to say. Be careful. People really like camping exactly this window here if you do the boss. So look out for campers here. But let's go back and get on the higher grounds here. First up, check these cages. They can have chests. And if you go up on any of these stairs here, you will find more loot as well as this building over here. Right in here, there can be a chest. More importantly, guys, if you go outside and take these stairs, you will find the last god chest in front of 2 more barrels, which is, of course, ultra important to know. If you continue to the right, you will find more potential loot in the chest right there. And if we go the other way, you can get straight to the river and have a very nice high ground here as well on anybody that's on the other side. And let's go back to the gate building. You're gonna arrive here on the middle ground pretty much. As I said, there's 2 slab barrels right here. And if we go inside, it's gonna be pretty much the same as on the other side. The important stuff to know here again is that you can jump up instead of having to take the stairs. But other than that, walk around, you'll find the loot. It's pretty straightforward. And you can, of course, get to the other high ground that I showed you here before. This is pretty much the exact same as the other side. Of course, we also have to talk about the river, but I'll talk about that in strategy. But first up, we will go to drops next, which is my favorite part of these hotspot analysis videos. One more little thing that I missed earlier. If you're down here in the river right in the center and hop back in here, you will find a room with 6 barrels. Wanted to show you this one from this angle, as this is how you usually get there in the game. Quick reminder where to find all the god chests. The tree at the southern outskirts, behind the port in the western outskirts, on top of this hill, right next to the bridge, at the edge of GrimGate, all the way behind the other bridge, all the way in the west. You can find these cars right at the coast. And right in GrimGate, if you take a right in the first building, all the way in the back, as well as if you get to the actual gate, the first room to the right, and if you go up the gate, all the way on top in the center, as well as right on top of the boss area, and lastly, all the way on the other side, right next to the pit, below this building. Next up, my favorite point, drops. For this, we're gonna take a look at the loot map, and what we're gonna do, guys, is we are gonna split the drops into slow drops, medium drops, and hot drops, before we split them up into drops viable for solos, duos, and squads. And good news, if you want slow drops, dropping GrimGate is actually pretty good, since all the areas in both the southern and the western outskirts will be considered slow drops. Apart from one little area down here, this building can have 1 or 2 enemies sometimes, which is why I will consider it a medium drop. I will actually count this god chest to this drop as well, since this will be the actual go-to rotation. You will drop on a god chest and then rotate to this building. In general, I always recommend dropping on the god chests, otherwise they will be taken super fast, and of course getting getting high level loot fast is super important. Half the time you will get the wings, half the time Zeus Thunderbolt, which is actually pretty strong in the early game as well. And of course, they also always drop a purple or buff weapon. As I said earlier, my favorite drop is the slow drop up here on the bridge. Pick up the God chest, pick up the chest right next to it. You use the river to continuously get dashes. Push up to the Minotaur skull, get the 3 chests. Head over to the port to get 5 chests and potentially the treasure quest, which gives you 2 extra mystical chests. You go up the mountain, get the other God chest before you push south to the 3rd God chest. And afterwards, you can freely rotate into GrimGate. And I'm not joking, most of the time I will get all 3 God chests like this, since nobody is playing the Western Outskirts at all. And then when we look at the actual GrimGate, there isn't even any medium drops here. This is all gonna be hot drops, whether you drop GrimGate North or GrimGate South. And again, if you do drop here, I can recommend dropping on the God chests, not really on the one in the center on top. But if you notice nobody is dropping on it, you can go for it. But usually there will be a battle literally from second 1 there. For solos, all these spots of course recommended, or rather viable. But once we start looking at duos and above, for duos I can no longer recommend the area just north of GrimGate North, as well as my go-to drop on the God chest here. I can recommend dropping on the port and the Minotaur skull. The God chest in the west on top of the hill, no longer recommended either. However, what you could do is one guy drops in the port if nobody's around, one guy on the God chest. I cannot recommend dropping on it together. The areas in the south here are all not good enough for duos already as well. The exception is the southeast. On this building down here, I can still recommend going here. However, I wouldn't be dropping on the God chest anymore, and it is a little bit too far away from each other to actually go for a split drop. And you can of course still go anywhere in GrimGate itself, since it has an insane amount of chests. And then looking at squads, we have to cross a lot off the list here. I still recommend dropping on the pot and the Minotaur skull together as one drop. But apart from that, the only drop still viable is gonna be GrimGate itself, either north or south. Again, drop on the God chest though. Now that you know everything there is to know about GrimGate, you are ready to learn how to play it properly and get the biggest advantage against your enemies and win more games. We talked about drops and deaths, but generally I would highly recommend dropping on the outskirts when playing solo. Evade the first big drop fight and instead work on gearing up and shielding up by rotating efficiently from God chest to God chest and hit your enemy with an insane loot and shield advantage once you rotate into GrimGate. When you arrive, you want to make sure you eliminate all threats and make sure you check as many camper spots as possible. People like camping the very roof, so I recommend coming into GrimGate from this big hill in the south. But no matter where you come from, make sure you have 3 dashes ready by touching the water at any point before. And similarly, once you finally go for the boss, in order to get the best medallion in the game, which gives you new dash charges every 10 seconds, as well as the mythic gatekeeper shotgun, make sure you are ready to evade third parties. Look out for footsteps and be ready to jump into the river in order to get an infinite amount of dashes. Play it safe, play it slow, and if you master this drop, your chances of winning the game will drastically increase. I am 100% certain of that. Now that you're ready to dominate GrimGate, watch my Huntress DMR guys, and I promise you, you will get just as much value as from this video, and I'm certain it will improve your understanding not only of the new weapon, but the whole season and meta.